Hello and welcome to Anders Around the World. My name is Anders, and if you guys ever dreamed about traveling around the world, quitting your day job, that's exactly what I've done. I hope you guys want to participate in this little project, that you want to share my videos, and I hope you enjoy Anders Around the World.
In Vladivostok we didn't actually see them putting our motorcycle on board, so when I could pick up my bike on the ferry and actually drive it into shore, it was a big relief. We had to do a bit of a customs check. They checked our bag to see we didn't bring anything that we wasn't allowed to, and we said goodbye to the people we met on the ferry. This here couple actually went with this here bus all the way through Mongolia from France to Guinea. But if you guys are more interested in customs details, insurance and prices, make sure you get the DVD that I'm going to do after this here trip. As we kept heading north, we saw how fertile a country South Korea actually is. And as we got a little further north, we also started seeing this military presence. This was just kids on some kind of military boot camp. Not too far from there, we found a beautiful beach where we found a nice little restaurant. We were told these were tourist prices, but we can live with that. We paid $12 for all of this here food the first night we were there. And this is where we camped on the beach first night. The only bad thing about this was it actually turned out to be a military area too, so we had choppers coming over our heads about every 15 minutes all night. We didn't know anything of what we were supposed to see in South Korea, but we found out that the demilitarized zone and the border to North Korea was one of the things we wanted to see. So we started heading north, and on our way we made a stop at a hotel where we thought we made a really good deal when we got it at half price. What are you doing?
I'm trying to figure out what the bed is.
Except for the fact that we don't know where the bed is, it's a pretty good deal. $20 for a hotel room like this.
Did you show the view?
And the view.
And that was our first introduction to Korea as a very different place. Many of the places they actually do sleep on the floor, and that's what we had to do too. The South-North Korean border is supposedly the most armed border in the world. And as you go further north, you'll see more and more military personnel, machine guns nests, and even the mountain passes. They have these concrete blocks put up so they can blow them away, so they fall into the road and block off any advancing North Koreans.
We're trying to get to the most northern observatory point in South Korea, at the border of North Korea. We're not quite sure how we'll get there because we can't use the motorcycle, but we've talked to a nice Korean man, and now we're suddenly in his minivan. And we think we're going up there with him.
At first we thought it was just us, then we met his extended family, and it turned all of us had to be in one minivan. We made it. Karen had to sit in my lap the 15 kilometers, but it was a fun experience as none of them actually spoke English and they weren't used to Westerners. From the observatory you could actually watch across the demilitarized zone. And it blows my mind quite a bit to think about that the South Koreans actually has so much compared to their North Korean brothers. That's the beach. You'll see barbed wire coming across all the way up hundreds of kilometers before the border, and as you get to the actual border, even more so. That's one of the North Korean observatories. You could actually see people, but a good thing here is that this sign means unification, and that's kind of the atmosphere you get. None of these people want to go to war, everyone wants unification. So we said goodbye to the family.
VIP treatment.
Yeah. And they all thought you looked like Jude Law.
And I look like Jude Law, and Karen looks like Britney Spears.
So it was time to head back down south. We had to be in Busan after a couple of days to carry the bike, but we made a stop in Pohang, which is about halfway down. We got another cheap hotel for about $25, and Karen suddenly got caught when she found something on TV that she's actually been playing when she was little.
What are you watching?
So once I got her torn away from the TV, we went for a walk in the city. It was Saturday night. The Apple Club was out promoting its stuff. And the fun thing about Pohang and all of Korea actually is that they're very playful people. The only problem is that they're so good at the games they play that we don't really want to embarrass ourselves in front of them. The next morning we got up early and started heading down to Busan, where we were supposed to ship the bike from. I never heard about the city, but it actually has 4.4 million people, a great main central station, super infrastructure, and also a couple of other things that we had to see while we were there.
Now we're going to the world's largest shopping center.
But first we had to figure out the technology, and we take ourselves as being pretty savvy with the technology. But if we have problems, then Karen could always get help from an 80-year-old old lady with the technology in South Korea. They're very technically advanced, and it's a pretty cool place to be. So we found our way to Shinsegae, the world's largest department store.
Karen just told me that this place, to her, makes her just as excited as it is driving through a small mountain pass on a motorcycle. The fun part is that this is the cookie section in the world's largest shopping center. That makes her so happy.
And there was literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cakes here. So anyone with a sweet tooth, they should definitely visit Shinsegae in Busan. But there's also a bunch of other things besides the regular stores, all the brand stores that we got everywhere else. So once we got a guide, we got a kind of a peek to what else you could do there.
So there's a driving range on the top floor, and from the 11th floor to the 14th floor.
And obviously you had to have an ice skating ring too, and for the Danish people there, you might recognize some of these. Yes, it's the Danish stiff Holzberg sausage wagon that they actually have in Shinsegae. On top of this, they have a big garden where you can go and watch the view over the city, and they even have a giant day spa there, which is only 14 bucks.
Huh?
So we got a refreshment. This is a Fanta shaker we haven't seen before.
It's like jelly, like thick.
What, dick?
Thick. Oh, that's really not good.
So there's a bunch of things that we don't normally see in the streets in Denmark. For example, squid, octopus, and how about these ones here? How would you like to eat these?
This morning we head to the harbor to ship the bike, so the papers need to be in order. Temporary export document and yellow sticker. So now we made it to Busan, where we're gonna crate the bike. It's done here at Incheon, and all I gotta do is take off my boxes, the windshield, my handlebars, and then we'll stuff it in a crate and take it to customs and then onwards onto the ship.
So this might seem like one of the scariest parts when you're sitting back home, because it's really hard to figure out the information about who to use, when to go, how much it is, and so on. I'm paying about $1,000 to get the bike shipped from South Korea to Vancouver, including the crating, shipping back and forth between the crating company, customs, and etc. So $1,000 in total. And the cool thing is, by using a service like these guys, is that they've done this a million times before. They know exactly how to build these crates, and it takes a fraction of the time that it would take you. Here I actually spent some time getting the volume of the bike down, removing the handlebars, front wheel, etc. But if I'd done again shipping by sea, I probably wouldn't do that much, as the volume is not that important on sea freight. However, it is by air, so I wanted to know how small I could actually make my bike. Another very important note is that you need to wash your bike. They need to be impeccably nice and clean. And if you don't, it might end up costing you a lot of money.
For those girls out there watching, this is what men really want for Christmas. These kind of packages. KTM being packed. Harley Davidson.
And that's it. It took us about 2 hours to build the box around the bike. And notice how the box hasn't been closed yet. The top is still open because we first had to go to the customs office to get it checked. So we had a little truck that took our motorcycle down to the harbor area where we met the Korean customs office. And this was a pretty amazing experience compared to the Russian ones. Incredibly efficient. They just took a look down the crate that we had. We handed over our yellow sticker, and that was that.
Reactions? Korean customs?
Mission, 2 minutes.
So next we had to take our bike from the customs office to the freight forwarders, which is a completely another location.
Okay, so we're now at the second customs stop. I think this is where we leave the crate with the motorcycle. But I'm a little bit worried because they didn't close the top of the box, and now they're trying to tape it closed up here. So anyone who wants to just lift it off, grab down and grab our motorcycle clothes or whatever they want. So not too, doesn't feel too good right now.
But luckily this here's Korea, so all you gotta remember is just to get your receipt. You can lean back, relax, everything ended up fine, no problems at all. But make sure you get a receipt or else you won't have any papers that you're actually shipping a bike. Next up, it was time for us to go to the Danish consulate because in Denmark it was election time, so we had to do our duty and cast our vote in the Danish elections.
Just arrived at the Danish consulate in Busan, where we're going to vote for the Danish elections 2011.
And as always, the Danish elections was one of these bad or worse kind of elections. But we did put our marks down and hand it over to the woman with a broken arm, which supposedly was the one that's going to send it all back to Denmark, have our votes registered.
Vote, and now it's off to the beach.
Busan has some very, very nice beaches. And unfortunately I got the only shot here with a plastic bag in the water. But the water besides from that is actually very nice and clean and warm. So once we'd worked a bit on our suntans, it was time for us to head on backwards. And Karen and I, we split up a bit. Karen, she went out shopping and took a couple of photos in the underground. There's a bunch of shopping malls underground too in Korea, and you kind of get the atmosphere from these pictures. And in the meanwhile, I spent a couple of hours at the hotel making the next episode of Anders Around the World. You can see very, very focused. And then it was time to head to Seoul. We had a couple of weeks before we had to meet the bike in Vancouver, so we thought we'd spend them in Seoul.
So now we're leaving Busan. We're going to do the KTX train, which is a 350-kilometer bullet train to Seoul. Right direction or opposite direction? I probably want to go the right direction.
So what are you eating?
And with those very, very clever words, we're going to leave you guys for this time as we're heading off to Seoul, where we're going to spend the next episode. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. This is the end of episode 8, and I hope to see you guys on facebook.com/AndersAroundTheWorld.
Well, hello there, and welcome to my office. I just finished episode 8, and I want to drop you one last thing. Check out this here link to Graham Stiles' website. Graham Stiles is an inventor right in South America, and he's raising money for a charity down there that I'm going to go visit. So hopefully we can raise some money together that I can bring down to Graham and all the kids at the school where he's working in Antigua and Guatemala. Check it out if you got the time. Yes, you made it all the way through this episode. Now, if you guys really care about this, hope you're going to leave some suggestions, share it with the rest of the world. Thank you very much for following.